Friends, we have news, we have current events, and we have new information about the second installment of Death Stranding. And it is that yesterday this trailer that you are seeing on screen was released. More than 10 minutes of new scenes from Death Stranding 2. Accompanied by an interview that Kojima and company gave about the video game where they commented on everything. From the plot to the new actors, the music and other details of the video game that we are going to share in today's video. Fans of Death Stranding, if you are very excited about the release of this second part, please support this video. Support it by commenting, liking, sharing, and more. It's going to be crucial for the video to reach more people. As I was saying, we have new gameplay, we have official statements from Hideo, Norman Reedus, Troy Baker, and company. And we have new details about this second part of Death Stranding, which continues the story of the first, but also perhaps to contradict it a bit. Let's cut to the chase and discuss Death Stranding 2. Brace yourself and get comfortable. And we start by talking about the game editions, because the release title will only be available on PlayStation 5. We don't know if it will come to PC later, like Death Stranding 1 did, or when it will do so. But for now, it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive and nothing more. The release date will be June 26th, and we will indeed have a physical edition, and obviously a digital edition, if you prefer it that way. And both editions will cost $70 worldwide and 80 euros in Europe in their base editions of the game. That is the standard edition. Then we will also have a deluxe edition, which will cost $10 more, which will be sold digitally and includes 2 days early access to the game. And some other cosmetic and things like that. We will also have a confirmed collector's edition, which comes with a statue, a keychain, some prints, some little weapons and things inside the game. But it comes without a disc, without a physical version of the game, only with a digital code. I don't know why they insist on putting digital keys inside collector's editions, because it seems absurdly ridiculous to me. Because anyone who is interested in a collector's edition of a game is interested in having the disc with the little box. It seems basic to me, but well, we could see the statue from the collector's edition at Hideo's conference, where it didn't come out very well. Let's say, in fact, it doesn't look that pretty, but there it is. That's more or less the size the statue is going to be. The collector's edition is going to cost $250, 250 euros. Everything that's going to happen in Death Stranding 2 is going to be very connected to what happened in the first game. In fact, they mentioned on several occasions that in this second game, our characters will have to face the consequences of their decisions and actions in the first game. The first title tells how humanity must reconnect after the catastrophic events of the first game without spoiling too much. Hideo Kojima commented that they released the first game in 2019, then the pandemic hit, which greatly reshaped what Death Stranding 1 is. And after the pandemic, they rewrote what they had of Death Stranding 2 and began to produce another vision of the game they had thought of from the beginning. Kojima explained that prior to the pandemic, they had a conception of what the need to connect people virtually was. That after the pandemic, it changed. And from there, the premise of Death Stranding 2 was born, which is, should we really be so connected? And what are the real consequences of this excess of connection that we tried to achieve in Death Stranding 1? And that also happened to us in real life during the pandemic, referring to the digital connection and being all the time with the little phone. So we will have a story that in some way seeks to challenge the premise of the first game. Higgs Monaghan is one of the main antagonists of Death Stranding, an enigmatic and dangerous character who plays a crucial role in the entire story. Higgs is a messenger just like Sam Porter Bridges, but with the ability to be much more sinister and dark. He is the leader of a terrorist group called the Homo Demens, which directly opposes Sam's goal in the first game, which is to rebuild America. In this second installment, we are going to have Higgs Monaghan back, But as Hideo Kojima himself commented, having changed the focus of the story, now putting into question whether it was right or wrong, reconnecting the whole world. Higgs' perspective also changes. We no longer know exactly if he is a villain or not so much. Without going into spoilers or too many details that could ruin the experience of the first game, I tell you that this character is presented as the villain, and a very, very firmly established one in that role of messing with our protagonist. But for this game, it seems that things are going to change a bit. Because by changing the perspective, perhaps what Higgs intended was not actually bad, and it was simply another way of seeing what was happening. I'm being cryptic and don't want to give many details. If you've played the game, did you understand what I said? I won't spoil it for those who haven't played. While Death Stranding 2 is a sequel to Death Stranding, this title will also tell us a bit about what happened before the first video game. And one of the key characters in all of this prequel storytelling will be this one you're seeing on screen, named Neil. In the trailer they showed us yesterday, they mentioned that this man will be the one to carry it with him. Brain-dead pregnant women for the first experiments with babies. Probably if you didn't play the first game, this talk of brain-dead pregnant women sounds horrible to you, but believe me, it's justified within the game. The question is this Neil guy in charge of the pregnant women? It seems that for the first time, for the initial investigations, and it seems that this man ends up enlisting in some kind of paramilitary division of soldiers, who, we understand, are going to be the new antagonists of Death Stranding 2. Yes, I know, the bandana and even Neil's stance with his weapon and all that reminds us a lot of Metal Gear Solid. But we don't have any confirmation about this from Kojima, far from it. But the reference is obvious, isn't it? In this new Death Stranding, we are not only going to play in the United States, but we are going to play in other regions of the world. In fact, Neil mentions at the beginning of the trailer that he is tasked with bringing these brain-dead pregnant women from Mexico, already including a country outside the United States from the beginning of the story's setup. Later on, as the video game develops, we have confirmed that we are going to visit other regions of the world and other ecosystems and other things. We don't know exactly which ones, but we know a little. The premise is that there is a kind of new portal that leads us to other areas or something like that. You know what? The information about Kojima's games tends to be quite cryptic. We are going to visit other places. Peru, we will visit Peru. Regarding the gameplay of the game itself, we were able to see many different fragments that show us some quite impressive parts. Some gigantic enemies and something good. Always murky and always sinister, but some new scenes. We've seen fights against flying bosses, we've seen new vehicles, or even something that looked like races or chases. We've seen fantastic creatures and all that black mud stuff, and those things that were already in Death Stranding 1, and completely beautiful and huge scenarios. Because if the gameplay of Death Stranding 2 is going to be basically the same gameplay as Death Stranding 1, we're going to have combat, we're going to have this thing about attacking enemy bases, dealing with the thugs who are wandering around the world, delivering packages, building bases, settlements, using vehicles. And all that we had already seen in the first game, but supposedly much more expanded. So, get ready, because you're going to walk a lot. In addition to this, because it is promised that the game is going to be even bigger than Death Stranding 1. As I tell you, because of this, that we are going to explore other areas, other regions, other ecosystems, even other biomes, with challenges very different from the biomes we explored. In the first game, let's see if you like the playable premise of the first one. Well, this is the same but expanded and bigger. And even it seems that we are going to have to fight against weather inclemencies and some other new supernatural disasters using different vehicles and gadgets. Well, new things. The video game cast includes the usual characters like Sam, Fragile, and Higgs. And many other new characters that are being added to the roster of characters that we will be able to meet throughout the video game. It promises Hideo Kojima many more stories, many more characters, and more depth in their development. Hideo Kojima commented that for this second part, many more personal and emotional scenes were filmed than in the first game. and that Norman Reedus, the actor who plays Sam Porter Bridges, had to cry, had to laugh, had to kiss, had to fight, had to act, much more than he acted in the first game. Supposedly, we are going to have a much more personal story than in the first title, and it will explore the feelings and emotions of Sam and all the mentioned cast. Hideo promises many very complex characters, with side stories that intertwine them, and that are resolved in such a way that we can understand a little more the depth of the relationship between these people. And we were also able to see, finally, the kiss between Sam and Fragile, who evidently, well, are there squeezing each other. On many occasions, Hideo Kojima referred to the concept of connection that remains fundamental to Death Stranding. He discussed the deep connections and bonds between all the characters. Another very complicated story to understand is coming, which we will then have to watch a video from Fede Lobo to know what it's about. If you played Death Stranding 1, you will surely remember that music is a fundamental part of the video game, and it's not going to be any different in Death Stranding 2. In this game, the music is going to be just as complex, rich, and varied. And Kojima assures that we are going to have more and better songs. And one of these songs, in fact, the song that accompanies this trailer, which I can't play due to copyright issues, is already available to be listened to on Spotify. Good Kid is the one who composed the song for this trailer, and the song is called To the Wilds. In case you saw the trailer and are interested in the song, you can go look for it on Spotify. Fun fact, this guy, who composed the song for the Death Stranding 2 trailer, also provided music for the Death Stranding 1 trailer. Director's cut. And he also composed part of the music for Arcane. And Arcane 2, the Netflix series that is not called Arcane 2. But well, you understood the second part of Arcane. Is the music for this game that important to Kojima? He also announced that by the end of 2025, there will be an orchestra going around the world playing songs from Death Stranding, 2 concerts based on the game that will tour the world in various cities. Hideo closed the conference commenting on the development and evolution of Death Stranding. And he assured that this is not a normal game. It's not one of those games you see every day. That Death Stranding 1 anticipated the pandemic. That Death Stranding 2 was going to continue with this connection thing. But that, as I was telling you, the pandemic in the middle made Kojima rethink the whole story of Death Stranding 2. And they will tell us a story that is somehow antagonistic to the first game. And the whole theme of connections, of social networks, of everything we all experienced during the pandemic directly influenced what we are going to play in this second installment. And Kojima promises a title that will touch us closely because it will allow us to experience in a different way many things that we lived and felt during that disastrous time. Kojima is a person who does not have a small ego. He will never tell you that his game is just an average game, never. But I believe him. I have faith in Kojima, and I'm very excited. Everything we've seen from Death Stranding 2 looks spectacular. Yes, this is the perfect time to start playing Death Stranding 1. And by the way, the Director's Cut edition of Death Stranding 1, which is the complete edition of the game, because I think it's going to be the best way to jump straight into Death Stranding 2. Because it's already clear that you have to have played the first game to understand what this second game is about. And if you've never played Death Stranding 1 and you're interested in what you're seeing, well, it's highly recommended to play the first game. And if you've already played the first game in its base edition, well, you might have to play it in the Director's Cut, which is personally what I plan to do. Right now, Death Stranding Director's Cut in the PlayStation Store is costing $20. Highly recommended. This game edition includes all released content, patches, and everything else. And if you want to play it on PC right now, on Eneba the title is just $12, so I would tell you to take advantage. Remember that if you want to buy it on Eneba, all you have to do is open any of our videos. Go to the description where it says games on offer, click there, and once on Eneba, you type in Death Stranding. And here you will find it in multiple regions and multiple offers for Steam in its Director's Cut edition for $12. Take advantage because it's very cheap. And of course, don't forget to comment down below in the comment box. What did you think of all this we saw from Death Stranding 2? And whether or not you're excited about this release? I think it's the first big PlayStation 5 exclusive confirmed, isn't it? Phantom Blade Zero is also being released on PC, correct? Well, it's a major event of the year. It's one of the titles that will be discussed in 2025. Personally, I really like Death Stranding, and here on the channel, I'm going to be closely following everything that's announced and happens regarding Death Stranding 2. So if you like the game, then you subscribe, you're welcome. Remember, at the start of the video, I asked if you enjoyed it and liked the game. Please support this video by sharing, liking, and commenting. It helps a lot. Thanks for watching. See you next time.